We back in the lab, we making some noise, so go turn your decibels up. Black skin, white coat, oh no, who was nice as us? Made Jimison, really told us no limit, so we about to take us up. Went from mixing in the kitchen to the lab, and now I can make this up. Whoa! B-SCI, be scientist, B-SCI, be scientist. We shining a light on the people of color to show them how fly it is. B-SCI, be scientist, B-SCI, be scientist. We back in the lab with white coats on our back, trying to show what time it is. Hey!
And welcome back to the B-Scientist Podcast, a podcast by the Black Science Coalition and Institute, or B-SCI. When you hear this noise, that is our in-podcast citation. So please head over to b-sci.org/B-Scientist to see all of our citations ever. I am geoarchaeologist Jordan Chapman. As always, we have the dope chemist herself,
Jana Carpenter.
And today we're going to have some science news for you guys. I do want to take a second to say the world's a crazy place right now, and there's a lot of things that I'm sure people are worried about, from the things going on with the war in Ukraine and Russia, to the fact that there is now another COVID variant out there that could potentially be more contagious than all of the other ones. But with all that said, please do your best to protect your mental health and understand that the world is an overwhelming place right now. And I keep hearing about the interesting times we live in, and sometimes it'd be just nice to not have to live in interesting times.
Yeah, I don't get where the interesting part comes into it, because I live in fear every day.
Honestly, and it's like I've seen a joke going around on like social media about like the chapter in like future kids textbooks about what's going on now, and honestly I wouldn't want to study that. It's just a lot. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think it's even like so optimistic to think of the future.
That's fair.
Like, we're gonna have one of those where this isn't always gonna be the present moment. I can't wrap my head around that personally,
right?
But
yeah, I thought about it one time, and I was like, man, that's crazy, because I don't remember the World War II section of the textbook. And then with the things going on in Ukraine and Russia, I'm like, oh, I guess I kind of need to brush up on that again now, because that's kind of getting crazy out of there. And one of the things that's been crazy in seeing all that is just like the historical precedents for it, particularly in that I know that I'm going to butcher the name right now, but I think it's called the Atomic Bulletin of Scientists. They do the Doomsday Clock each year, and they've been doing it since the beginning of like the Cold War, essentially. It's ironic because they had just done it before Russia decided to invade Ukraine, and I'm like, boy, oh boy, what's it going to look? What would it have been if Russia would have did it a week earlier, and what would it be next year? And it's just like, wow. And I think they were celebrating like their 75th year of like doing it, and I'm like, and they didn't change it. That's another thing that was interesting about that, as I don't think they changed it since. Even with COVID, I don't think they changed it to midnight, which midnight is basically like, it's the world is going astray, and they hadn't really changed it that much, even during COVID. And I was really in that 2-year period of like all of this happening. I was like, they must change it soon, right? It's going to move closer to midnight, and it wouldn't move. And then this happened, and I'm like, oh, okay. So it probably should have moved already. It's probably like, if it doesn't move next year, then I don't know when it's ever going to move again. And then on top of that too is that Chernobyl, which site of one of the worst nuclear incidents ever, is currently under Russian control, and people are very worried about it. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it just seems really strange that that's the place that they chose to take over. I'm so curious to know why Chernobyl. Like, it's obviously a really radioactive site that's still very active. So why do you want to claim this space? What are you planning? I don't get
Yeah,
it.
people are worried.
And it scares me.
It seemed that most of the logic was because they invaded from Belarus, which is like in the north, to get to Kyiv,
Hmm.
which is the capital of the Ukraine. They were like, "Oh, we'll go this way," and Chernobyl was along the fastest like route to get to Kyiv. That does not. But there was a lot of intensive fighting around the power plant, which was just alarming because and then like the radiation spikes around the power plant. It's gone offline like twice, I think, since all that stuff happened. So it's just like, come on, come on. Everyone is talking about how we were done the pandemic, and then this happened, and then COVID was like, oh, but I'm still here. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think it's really also optimistic to assume that that power plant fire was totally fine. Like, yeah, no, we had
Mm.
it all under control. It's fine. That sounds a whole lot like Chernobyl. Like, that's
It
exactly
sounds
what
like
they
trouble.
said
It
when that
sounds exactly
happened.
like what they said.
So it's a little concerning to think about,
It's very
but
concerning. In other news, we do have science news besides what's going on in Chernobyl and the other like implications of why that we're even talking about Chernobyl.
yeah.
So, one thing that I came across was published in Nature Communications. It was a University of Pennsylvania study, and I know exactly where that is. But apparently, light to moderate drinking can lead to reduced brain size. Researchers analyzed 36,000 adults who had an average amount of alcoholic drinks, and they based that off an alcoholic unit. An alcoholic unit was defined as the equivalent to half a beer, and even that was enough to have some negative side effects. And even uh, almost obviously, if you drink more than that on a constant basis, then you can have reduced brain size, which is a bit concerning because I know a lot of people who drink, pretty regularly. And it's not to say that people have like an alcoholic problem or anything, but it just says that that's how dangerous alcohol is. And I thought that was a really interesting article.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. And I mean, I can speak for myself. I definitely have the occasional drink, more than occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of grad school, a lot of grad students everywhere are like, oh no, maybe that's why I don't remember
Yeah.
which sample I was working on.
Right.
So,
No, it's definitely,
yeah.
I've seen something like this before. And I also partake every now and again. I don't drink that much, but even I think I would probably still fall into this category, which is crazy. But like,
Yeah, that's a really small amount to cause that kind of permanent damage.
that's yeah, that's the crazy part. I've seen this somewhere else too. So I've seen something a similar like I don't want to say statistic because they didn't use the same statistic, but I've seen at least a similar study on this TV show. I don't know. I'm sure I've mentioned it before, but Adam Ruins Everything, which is a show you can watch on HBO Max if you have that. There's an episode about Adam ruins a night out, basically, and usually the way Adam Ruins Everything works is that they do like three like ruins, basically, essentially. The first one was interesting. It was like why women shave and why those societal pressures came out. And then I think another one was about like pocketbooks, so kind of along the same line. And then like the last story was about alcohol and stuff like that. And that's kind of where I heard a similar study before. But hearing it put it in this way, that half a beer, like I think if anyone's drinking, they're probably drinking more than half a beer already. So that's concerning.
Yeah, definitely. Especially since I think even saw in a study that, especially if you're under the age of 25, before
Mm.
your brain fully develops as an adult, is when a lot of that permanent damage kind of takes place because your brain is still trying to develop. So I could imagine that, some of those growth factors that your body is expecting to go through until you turn 25 just don't reach that
Mm.
that limit, which is crazy because the drinking age is 21. So
Right.
to think that college students are out here turning 21 and then drinking,
Yeah.
you know who's to say?
I mean, I know. Oof, I've had. some moments in undergrad that I'm sure that half a beer was being that was a very low amount compared to what I had on some of those days in undergrad. I've just so I could, and
Yeah.
people are doing that. I was a lightweight compared to a lot of other people in undergrads. So yeah, that's oof.
Yeah. No, I've been to several kickbacks where
Mm-hmm.
half a beer was what you drank on your way
Yeah,
into
basically,
classroom.
yeah.
So,
I wonder
so
what half a beer is in terms of wine too. Like that I'm curious about what's that conversion is.
right. I mean, I'm not gonna act like I know what I'm talking
Mhm.
about, but I do know that in terms of like one shot is the equivalent of one beer is the equivalent of a glass of wine. So I can imagine
Mm,
like a half glass of wine would somewhat be the equivalent of a half a beer.
right.
But
Okay.
I don't know. I can't say for
I
sure.
mean, I feel like I've heard that somewhere before, and if that is the case, then every now and again I'm clearing that half a beer only at least every couple of weeks. So there it is.
Yeah, it's. I'm not gonna say how much I drink because my mom listens
My
to this
mom listens to this
podcast.
podcast too.
But
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Listen, it happens though.
yeah, no, sorry if my mom is listening right now. I never drink.
Nope.
No, what? That's
Never do
crazy.
that. I'm such I'm so well behaved.
Yeah.
Hmm. Anyway, to
Anyway.
another story. This one I find like this might be one of the best stories I've read all year in terms of science, honestly. But it's pizza science. So scientists, material scientists at the University of Naples, Federico, which I believe is in Florence, but I want to make sure we put that into the citation archive, which you can check out on b-sci.org. But they created pizza dough without using yeast. So basically, they pressurized gas to mimic how yeast produces CO2, because yeast digests sugar in dough, and that produces CO2 bubbles, help giving pizza its texture, and some similar foods like bread and things like that. So they just used pressurized CO like gas. I think they use CO2, and I think they also use helium in other experiments. Um, but then they analyzed the results of the dough using rheology, which is the study of flow and deformation of a material, which is kind of in the realm of geology. That's something that a lot of volcanologists kind of dabble in. And even like some structural geologists dabble in rheology because at high temperatures and pressure, rocks start to behave very differently than they do on the surface of the earth. So I thought that was really cool for that aspect of it, just to think about that connection to everything. And the one thing that was also interesting is that, again, because the dough didn't have yeast, is that it was just flour, water, and salt. But that meant that the pieces were very small. They were only about the size of a half a penny. But potentially, this is beneficial because people who have dietary restrictions and can eat yeast, maybe that's a potential way for people to enjoy pizza one day.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes me think of those automated, because I've heard of there being automated pizza machines in places like a vending
I've
machine
heard of
type
these.
setup. And I could only imagine it being really useful for those kinds of like fast food type deals where you need pizza to rise really quickly, but you still want to retain the quality, of a proper yeast fermentation.
I didn't actually think about that. That's a really good point, actually. They some people I know they were mentioning in the study that like the sugars are still kind of needed, because there's not as much, but there were some discrepancies about that in the study. But I didn't think about it for the application. I was like, well, like besides the dietary restrictions, I hadn't really thought about some of the applications. But that's a really good point. Like, I think this happens more in like the pizza machines. I think that's more of like an East Asian thing. Like, I think maybe like
Hmm.
Japan has like pizza vending machines or something like that. But I can easily imagine
Yeah, I
like,
think.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that's the ingrained capitalist in me thinking of ways to exploit
I
this
mean,
scientific discovery.
that's going to happen. That's just what's going to
Yeah.
happen. I can see, um, I can see Little Caesars right now, just being like, "That's what we
Yep.
need." That's that's what's going to happen. If it's not Little Caesars,
Yeah.
Domino, Papa John's, like they just all going to just jump on that. They're probably trying to figure out how to fund this research right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they're like some private donor
Hmm.
of this research.
Right.
But yeah, no. Speaking of Little Caesars, which this is off topic,
Cool.
but the new Batman pizza from Little Caesars
Oh.
is quite the sight to behold.
Hmm. Hmm.
So just if you haven't seen it yet, um, and you like Batman and also Little Caesars, what a demographic to really pinpoint there.
I don't even know if that
But
demographic listens to this podcast, honestly.
probably not. Probably
That's
not.
an interesting
But
demographic.
yeah. And in case you're curious, it is a pizza in the shape of a bat, and it is atrocious to look at,
It's bad.
but it is interesting. So yeah.
No, for sure.
So I could see Little Caesars doing something as atrocious as like exploiting,
Hmm.
yeast fermentation to
Listen,
boost productivity.
I think we just have lost another sponsor to this podcast. We need a list of we've probably alienated some sponsors on this podcast. I think we came at Kellogg for sure one time. That happened.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like we came at Target once, maybe even Walmart. One of the two. It was definitely one of the 2.
Mm-hmm.
And now Little Caesars getting it. We just roasting people. It's just what it is.
Hey, you know what? I regret nothing. I will not take it back.
Hey, Little Caesars is an abomination. Little Caesars is an abomination of pizza anyway. Let's just put that out there. Like no one in their right mind is doing that anyway. So like they had to do what they were like, we got to use something that people kind of like. So they were like, just pick Batman. That's what happened. Like we know what happened, Little Caesars.
Yeah.
Just do better.
I was gonna go in further on Little Caesars, but I will restrain myself.
Yeah, cardboard box pizza. It's fine.
At least I'll try. Yeah. Unless it's coming straight out of the oven,
even then
it's not. Anyway.
I make better pizzas once a week. You can get better pizza at Kroger. Like just go to the frozen pizza section. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Kroger's got good pizza, frozen pizza. Honestly, so
yeah, or like Sam's Club. Those little like, oh man, that's some good pizza.
Hey, we almost alienated Walmart, but honestly, you could probably get good pizza at Walmart. So
yeah. No, I guess I'll walk back a few of my extra statements.
Yeah, but we won't take that back from you, Little Caesars. You just getting it today. You're just getting roasted.
Yeah, no, sorry. I think it's implied in the whole brand that's gonna happen. So yeah, they should expect nothing less than that. But in other science news, and I have to admit, I don't quite fully understand a lot of this science article, mostly because it involves a lot of astrophysics, which is not my background.
Me neither.
But some scientists recently were able to discover that there is a really bright background light emitting from just outside of our solar system. And so this has kind of actually been a really ongoing research study about analyzing the brightness of the outer skirts of our solar system to figure out some of the beginnings and potential activity surrounding our solar system. But they were able to visualize this light that was pervading from the cosmos through a spacecraft called New Horizons. And this spacecraft actually flew past Pluto back in 2015, but they were able to kind of fine tune it over the years to capture images past Pluto, which is, of course, the furthest from our sun. And so we can kind of get a visual without having so much direct sunlight, so to speak, from deflecting this image from our solar system. And so what they were able to do is just kind of pinpoint with much greater accuracy than back in 2015. They were able to capture this cluster of stars is what they are assuming it is. That's just emitting a lot of light, which probably means from where it is in relation to our solar system is that it's probably dying or already dead where it's at. But it is interesting to note because all of these things kind of have a domino effect for the rest of our solar system and our galaxy. So it's just something interesting to note that, while things are happening here on our tiny little rock
Mhm.
in the middle of the universe, there's still things going on outside of this planet. So
Now that's dope. I'm pretty sure I've heard of New Horizon before. I don't. I'm also not an astrophysicist, but I do try to like pay attention to the things that NASA gets up to. Um,
yeah, they go into a lot of math. When if you go into the original article that we'll link in the
mm.
citations, they talk about flux of cosmic systems, and I just that goes beyond my abilities. But before I go on, I did want to mention that they dubbed this visible light that we can see at the edge of our galaxy the cosmic optical background, or COB, which I think is funny.
Corn on the cob.
I love when scientists come up with little idioms about science stuff.
No, for sure.
Um, but yeah, so there's stuff going on out there.
Yeah, I think the James Webb Telescope also. I don't know if it had already launched. I'm trying to look up some stuff right now about it. Forgive me for being a little shaky on the details, but I think that launched in December, and I know it's been in the news recently because it like captured an image of something. I don't remember what it was exactly, but I know that's been some big news. So yeah, NASA just chugging along, being amazing as usual. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. Outside of all of the misery of COVID
Hmm.
and this pandemic and imminent destruction of the social construct.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, NASA's still out here just doing the good
Mhm.
work and good
Just
science.
guess.
Science that I personally am not equipped to
Oh
do.
yeah, me neither. No. But yeah,
But
this we didn't plan on this being a longer episode, because grad school and the rest of the world overwhelming as usual. So we didn't really plan on this being a longer episode, but some updates. The website is going through some changes. Um, you know, we have mentioned it here before, but we are working on a magazine. And as we try to figure out how the magazine will work on the website, we have been messing around with the website. So right now, if you go to the website, it's probably fine. Um, Please let us know if it's not, but it's probably fine. You can use it. But over the next couple months, as the magazine eventually comes out, it will start to look very different. Hopefully, it'll make it look. It'll be a little bit easier to navigate the website because, in retrospect, because of the things we've added to the website since it launched, I think in 2020, it things have changed. Things probably haven't been arranged in the best way they could have been. So that's kind of part of what's going on right now too. So that's happening. Um, but yeah, that's happening, and that's another plug for Be Scientist magazine, which hopefully will come out soon-ish. You know, again, grad
definitely.
school for women.
And also, congratulations to all of those medical students who recently got matched
Mm,
and got found their placements for
mhm,
residency.
mhm.
I know I have a few friends who were able to get placed in a residency. Shout out to them. And for those who didn't, I feel for you. No one ever talks about that. No one ever talks about like the people that don't get
Mm,
matched.
mm. I mean, I don't know too much about the matching process, honestly, like residency and stuff like that. If it's anything like getting into a grad school, then I can imagine the disappointment at least for sure.
Yeah. So basically, if you get matched, that's where you will spend. I think it's up to 4 to 7 years for a residency, and you only get one shot. And you interview at 20, 50 different places, and you have your top picks. You rank them just like you would for like grad school or any kind of thing that you could rank.
Hmm.
And if you get it, you'll find out and wherever you get matched, if it's not your first choice, you sign a contract to go work there for however long to gain expertise in a certain area. So
That's a lot.
So yeah, it's a lot, and it's definitely like specific to your specialty. So like if you're in psychiatry, you'll get matched to a residency in psychiatry, and so on and so forth. But
50 schools?
That's like it depends. Like you could be interviewing for days because it's at a specific like a hospital that you have to work at.
Right.
During your residency. Some of them are linked to universities if you're doing, research-based work in your MD field, but some of them aren't. And it's really competitive. It's super competitive.
Yeah.
So
that's wild. Yeah, good luck to you people, and I'm happy that some of you guys got in. But yeah, shorter episode. But do you have anything else that you want to add, Jana?
I don't think so.
Cool. Well, like I said, we're checking along, and we do have guests coming up, so stay tuned for that. Again, stay tuned for B-Scientists, not just the podcast, but the magazine coming out again soon-ish. And until then, and until next time, don't forget to be B-Scientists and wear a mask. Okay, like we can't keep doing this.
Really can't.
So B-Scientists. We'll catch you next time. B-Scientists is a podcast by the Black Science Coalition and Institute, or B-SCI, a 501c3 nonprofit. B-Scientists is hosted by both Jana Carpenter, chemist and B-SCI's Research and Development Officer, and Jordan Chapman, geoarchaeologist and B-SCI's president. Music is produced by Delaralo, and lyrics are by Jana. Special thanks to Michael, Mike, Captain Marshall, and the Plaza Abbey Studios. If you would like to donate to B-SCI, visit our official website, bsci.org. That's b-sci.org. Your donation supports B-Scientists and B-SCI's other projects. We couldn't do it without you. So please tune in next time, and always be scientists.